Y'all, it is cloudy outside and I don't know what is going on with the weather. It snowed last week. Like, there was snow on the ground, covering my car, icing over my car, and today it's 60 degrees. So I don't know what's happening, but hello, welcome back. My name is Lindy Jung. I am a soon-to-be traditionally published science fiction and fantasy author. My debut novel, Moth's Blood, comes out fall 2026 from Bloomsbury in the US and Del Rey in the UK, and Moth's Blood is a dark academia adult fantasy. So we are back at it, and by we, I mean I. I am going to be embarking on another 10,000 word weekend writing challenge. Gonna be doing this until I finish the first draft of Project Crypts, which is my adult gothic fantasy with a touch of romance and lots of necromancy. I talked about this last time we spoke, which was actually 2 weeks ago. I've been finding that I kind of need a weekend off before I get back into things, which extends my timeline, but not by enough that I'm worried. When I last spoke with you guys, I was talking about doing a full sort of revamp of the book, and that is still in progress, but I'm still doing my word count challenge in the original draft. What's basically happening is I have a draft 0.75. That's what we're going to be adding to today. That is in first person. It's a little bit messier structurally, but it still has all of the important scenes and beats. And draft 1 is going to be the more polished version in third person that I'm going to be submitting down the line. So it is currently 8:22 a.m. It is Saturday, November 15th. I do have some updates for you guys, so this is going to be the update section before I head over to the cafe to start my day. I have a favorite cafe that I've been going to on these weekends that just helps me kick off these Saturdays on the right foot, and also has my favorite jalapeno cheddar croissant with chive cream cheese that is the best thing ever. I don't know what is in the water for specifically that croissant, but I dream of it. I crave it. And it's a great motivator to actually do this challenge. So a lot of cool stuff has happened recently. Last weekend, I didn't do this challenge specifically because I went over to Chicago to meet up with Becca Tabar, and we went to Chloe Gong's book signing for Coldwire, which is her new young adult cyberpunk story, and I've been in a really big cyberpunk mood ever since Local Heavens happened, which is by Kim Fajardo. So this was actually the first author event I've ever gone to. Living on the West Coast, and especially like an hour out from Los Angeles, there weren't a ton of book events near me. My town just straight up did not have a bookstore, which my town now at about 1/10 of the size does have a bookstore, so what was that about? That being said, it was a really fun experience. I definitely want to go to more. Chloe spoke about the process of writing the book, took some audience questions, and then we all got in line for the signing. I should have brought my copy up. I'll show you guys later, but I got it personalized and signed, and Chloe Gong and I actually share an agent, so we have spoken a couple times. So it was really cool to finally meet her in person. Yeah, it was just a very fun experience. Definitely going to go to more of those in the future, schedule permitting, of course. I think one of my goals, just kind of moving forward, but also specifically for the new year, is to become more a part of the in-person author community. I think I've done a really solid job, and I feel satisfied with my internet community, obviously, and I'm not abandoning you guys, but going to more events like that, finding out about more books and authors in my area, just kind of getting more immersed in that scene, I think is going to be really fun for me. I've also seen a couple of cover-shaped things for Moth's Blood. Can't say any more than that. It's not final covers by any means. I honestly don't know when we're going to reveal those, but cover stuff is happening, so it's starting to feel real. I also saw the typeset version of Moth's Blood, which is instead of the Google Doc that I've been working in, that's just basic Times New Roman, double-spaced, boilerplate kind of formatting. It has chapter titles and the big letter in the front at the start of each chapter. It's a really small thing, I feel but it's so cool to see it formatted like an actual book. We're working more on developing that formatting as well, so I'm just having a blast with publishing. It's been a slightly slower season. I was getting almost constant updates toward the last half of October. People needed my input on stuff, and just a lot of things were happening, but now it's slowed down a little bit leading into the holidays. And it's mostly things design related, kind of bringing the book together to make it a product, to make it a book that's going to sit on shelves. And there's so many different components to that I'd never even thought of. For example, yes, the typesetting, but also writing the acknowledgements and getting the names of all the people in publishing who worked on the book behind the scenes, the stages of cover design. That's been really fun for me, and being able to put in my input, however minimal and uninformed, has been really exciting for me as well. Getting blurbs, I've gotten a couple blurbs in for MOTHSBLOOD that I'm so excited to share down the line because they were so incredibly kind. All these little things kind of leading up to the creation of a book that sits on shelves. Okay, final update. I'm going to France and you could be too. So I have partnered with Venture, and they are a company that specializes in these types of trips and retreats that are led by a host. That's going to be me. And the trip I'm hosting is a writing retreat in the French countryside. We are going to be staying in this historic manor with beautiful opulent gardens, and it's just going to be a bunch of writers hanging out, enjoying each other's creative energy. There are structured activities as well, like we're going to be having meals together, tasting the local cuisine, tasting a little bit of local drink as well. There is a workshop that is going to be led by me where I specifically am just going to go through my process of chasing my dreams as a writer to published author and kind of answering questions, giving the retreat attendees advice on how to meet those goals themselves. And there's also going to be structured sprints and writing time, so you get to literally sit on your laptop or with your journal and write uninterrupted in this serene setting. There's also going to be a circle at the very end where we read out loud and share bits of our work. If you're comfortable with it, of course, no one's required to do anything. And I'm so incredibly excited for this. I'm kind of nervous as well because you never know how these things are going to go. But this retreat is open to all. I'm going to be upfront. It is a paid opportunity, but for a group package for 4 days in France, I do think it's pretty reasonable, and I worked hard to make sure that it was a pretty reasonable price. But if you've been looking for writing community, if you've been looking for an opportunity to just go on a really cool trip in a really cool special location, again, this is like just such a beautiful spot. I'm gonna just throw some pictures up there. It's gorgeous, it's stunning. I am so excited to see it. We do have limited spots, and I was so shocked that like a bunch of spaces have already been taken up. I know that some of the shared rooms, like the cheaper rooms, are already being taken, but check it out, pick the room that works best for you. There is also a kind of bonus opportunity attached to this trip. Everyone who attends is going to get up to 50 pages of their work critiqued by me, and this is something where you can submit the pages a month after, 6 months after, a year after. Don't really care. What am I doing with my life? I'm not busy. Yes, I am. But I will make the time and find the space to give you that critique. Again, this is personalized. You can tell me how in-depth you want the critique to be, what areas you want to focus on. Think of me as a critique partner or beta reader. So there's also kind of that little asterisk bonus opportunity as well that you would get through this retreat. The spots are limited, so I recommend checking it out as soon as you can, seeing if you can make it work. We are leaving in March 2026, but I have to double check that. Maybe I should know. Okay, I just checked and another spot has filled since I last checked it, so yeah. Probably sign up quickly, but the retreat is happening from March 21st to March 25th. I mean, I'm just so excited. This is like kismet that I get to go to France again for the first time since I was a teenager. The same year that MOTHSBLOOD publishes, that I get to spend it in community with other writers in this miracle of a location. I'm so excited. I hope you are as well. Link is in the description box to check that out. Okay, I think I've yapped enough. I guess I'll do more like writing type updates after I get back, because honestly, I have not cracked into this document in a minute. So I'm gonna head over to the cafe. Hopefully they have not run out of my beloved jalapeno cheddar croissants. I will also set up my pages once I am there, like my little sketchbook with the things, shapes that I fill in. I am going to go for blue today because it just feels like a blue day. We're gonna write. And I'm very excited. Bye. Oh my god. So I'm sweating. Which I think I'm just kind of a sweaty gal. It is hot outside. It's very windy, but it's quite warm. It's definitely like 60, 58, like high 50s or low 60s. I just had a lovely session at the cafe, and then I was kind of just going around to different shops. We have a really cute downtown area in my town. I went to kind of this like global goods store and the consignment kind of store, vintage store, I don't really know, that I go to all the time for some clothes because I feel like I don't have enough like long sleeve tops or layering clothes this time around for winter. And then I went to the bookstore. I picked up a paper blank, just like a cute little notebook. I was going to go for something a little bit darker, but I realized I'm in this era of writing more whimsical things after Crips, of course. So I just picked this up to scribble in. I chose one without lines because I feel like lines are too... It does have lines! Oh, it's okay. I chose one with lines because I didn't realize, but it's super cute with green, my favorite color, and some sort of like vintage fairy illustrations. And then I also picked up a cheap copy of Mistborn by Brandon Sanderson. I've never read anything by Brandon Sanderson. I've kind of been holding off. I've had my eye on epic fantasy, so I want to get a grasp of what that genre has been doing because I feel like a lot of my epic fantasy reads are kind of older. Not that Mistborn isn't older, because it is like at this point 20 plus years old, but Brandon Sanderson is still writing, so clearly he has something that's working for him. For the writing part of things, I wrote 2,500 words in about an hour and a half, and it was just like scattered here and there. I'm currently in the midst of chapter 14, but I think that chapter needs some restructuring, much like the entire rest of this book. I mean, like, I was having fun with it, but I could tell that I was feeling a little directionless with the chapter and its movement and what was happening and the pace and stuff. It does introduce a secondary character who is like one of my favorite characters in the book. He's not even that important, like he doesn't contribute that much to the plot, but he's just such a freaky little guy, and I love a freaky little guy or lass or non-binary friend. So he's just really fun to write because he's so weird and everything he does is weird and creepy. I am also writing kind of like a flashback sequence that is embedded in the book. Over the past 2 weeks, I haven't just been slacking off, I've been brainstorming a lot, like fleshing out the details, trying to figure out the truths, the answer to the mysteries that I have been setting up in this book, because although I'm not going to lay all of them out in the first book, I really want to know what the answers to them are so I can plan accordingly and foreshadow and all that stuff. And I feel like I got some really good progress in terms of just planning and laying out Alessia's backstory and how much of it gets introduced to her over time. So this is like the most clarity I've had on that subject. I feel really good about that aspect of the book right now. I also have done some planning for book 2 over the past 2 weeks. Nothing concrete, no like serious outlines or anything, although I do have a full synopsis of book 2 written out and all that stuff. Understanding the arcs of the two main characters throughout that book, and I think that was important for me to kind of figure out how much progress they make. Not that arcs are necessarily a gauge of progress toward a certain endpoint. I feel like they're more nebulous than that. I don't want all of that critical character development to happen in book 1. I want there to be a complete arc, but I feel like there's got to be a step 2. Like, they can't just be not developing in book 2, and they can't just regress to their former self and undergo the same arc all over again. This is really interesting to me because MOTHSBLOOD is a standalone. I never planned a book 2 for that. The story ends with the characters, so having to kind of like plot out the progression of characters between book 1 and book 2, that's a new challenge for me, and it's really interesting. And I do think that the decisions I am making for book 2 are really going to influence book 1, so that's kind of why I was in that headspace and thinking about those things so far in advance. We're going to hit 70,000 words by the end of today, it sounds like, which is crazy. I've had finished drafts that sat around 70,000 words. I think this one's going to take 20 to 30,000 more to be a fully fleshed out draft 0.75. I am resisting the urge to go into my draft 1 and type that out. It's better off if I just leave it be and add to it, not during the weekend, not during these challenges, but really put the brunt of my creativity into draft 0.75 and let myself make mistakes and let it be messy. I am giving myself permission to write something that's kind of a hot pile of garbage so that I can shape it up to be something better later. And although that feels like an impossible task right now, I am having fun rolling around in the mud with the hot pile of garbage. So that's where my headspace is at. I just am trying to like let go of these perfectionist tendencies because my entire life is being ruined by them. Or, you know, my like mental well-being is not. It's not being helped by
this desire for immediate perfection and getting it right the first time with very little effort. It's not helpful. I am giving myself permission to be messy in this draft 0.75 and allowing myself to have fun and be free and explore. I even have some sections where I've like written the same scene twice with different outcomes, and I'm counting that toward my word count because you know what? There are no rules. I made the rules myself and I'm saying that's okay. Right now I'm feeling pretty good. This afternoon, once I get back, I'm going to finish up chapter 14, chapter 15, kind of this like section of act 2, just like kind of write linearly for a little bit and finish up those scenes. And then we'll see where we're at in terms of word count. I forgot to bring my paint marker, so I actually didn't fill in my blobs for the first 2,000 words, but I'll do that when I get home. And that is the update on writing Project Crypts. I don't know why I was doing this. This is like an insane way to hold this, I think. It's like a rock climbing hold. I haven't climbed in 2 years, so I don't know actually. So far so good. I feel like I didn't have a strong enough caffeinated drink because I only had tea, but I had 2 very delicious croissants, and I bought some cute clothes, and some chocolate, and a book, and journal, and I actually really want to read. No, we're gonna write a bit more and then we're gonna read. That is it. I will talk to you guys soon with another update after the afternoon writing session. Bye. Can I get your back?
Get my what?
A shot of your back? I don't know. So there's a figure in the for visual interest.
Wave high.
Hi, coming back to you guys with an afternoon update. I have not written a single additional word. I was sitting in the car and got a call from my partner, and he wanted to go on a walk by the river, which is what you saw earlier, and then we ended up like picking up lunch and doing all these other small errand-like things. I just got home. I am feeling like I want to be off camera for the rest of the day, and I'm just going to continue doing my writing, adding that second 2,500 words off camera and in my comfy clothes. I'm still feeling good about the progress so far. Still feeling like there's a lot more that I can do to hit that 5,000 word goal for today. I need a little bit of a breather, and I really want to read something. It's been so long since I've really sat down and had like uninterrupted time to read and really absorb a story. And it's also been a really long time since I picked up a book that really grasped me, that made me want to keep reading day after day. So I'm going to try and find that book. However imposing of a task that seems right now. It's just difficult because I've never been very good at interpreting my reading moods. I read a wide range of things, but I have very specific moods. Sometimes I want something light and frothy and fun, and sometimes I want something that's got a lot more depth and substance to it, and it's very hard to tell which of those I'm feeling in a given moment. Trying to figure that out. I do have my November TBR still. I am more than 50% of the way through The Spear Cuts Through Water, so I might read that. The problem with that book is I'm enjoying it a ton, but it's not a physical book. It's like on my books app on my phone, which is much more difficult for me to engage with just because I don't like scrolling on a screen for too long. Maybe some nice quality time with a physical book is warranted. I don't know. I'm gonna figure it out. Do need a little bit of a reset before I dive back into these words, and yeah, I'm gonna give that to myself. That's what we're gonna do. I will update you guys if anything comes up, but I think I'm just gonna like shed my skin and just be cozy, comfortable. So I will talk to you guys later. Tomorrow is gonna be more of the same, but we're gonna work our way through it. Bye.
We know how that went. I was very surprised. The other reason I was really surprised was that even because we're not a publisher, I just didn't realize that we had to not represent as many BIPOC authors, rating books off the list.
The hair is kind of giving bowl cut, but whatever. Hello. I'm gonna be so honest. I almost threw in the towel today. I seriously, it's currently like 9:30. I oscillated back and forth for like at least an hour on whether or not I was going to film day 2 of this, but we are going to do it because I feel like I filmed enough of day 1 that we can make it work. I'm going to go to a cafe because I need to kick my butt into gear. This is what I've got so far. I got 2,500 words in yesterday at the cafe and then stopped forever, which is not ideal. It's not ideal. I really did go into like turning off the camera, just spending time alone with my laptop and my notebook. I really thought I was going to add more words. I typed maybe like 100, 200 words on my phone, but something about that like start point of grabbing my laptop, setting it down and like working on it, I couldn't do it. I couldn't bring myself to just start that. And that is the executive dysfunction rearing its ugly head, and it happens. As you may know, because I state it probably 100 times per video, I do have ADHD. But it's a new day and I'm feeling okay. I was feeling better yesterday. I still am kind of in that mud, but I do think I need to push myself. I really want to get this done. I don't know how I'm going to accomplish, 7,500 words today, but I've done worse to myself before. So let's try and write 7,500 words today. As of right now, I have 67,612. So again, that extra 100 words there. Yeah, I feel like as long as I hit like 72, 73,000, like as long as I add the 5,000 words I was supposed to add today, I'll feel okay. But wow, I really look like I'm in the Beatles. That's crazy. It's also the turtleneck. I love this. I thrifted this yesterday. It is somehow 100% cashmere, $10. Sometimes you just find a nice, beautiful fall turtleneck and it's perfect. Sorry, I'm getting off track. I am in the midst of chapter 14 and I do think this is one that I'm going to have to rip to pieces, but I can't think about that right now. If we're just taking a step back to look at this objectively, this is almost a 70,000 word manuscript. I almost said dollar. This is the longest Crips has ever been. I know it's a chunky, messy, vomity, rough draft, but I have created almost 70,000 words out of thin air. So just that, taking a step back to appreciate the accomplishment that is. First drafts are always so tremendously painful for me. Outlining is never an issue, but translating those rough ideas, that skeletal structure into flesh, into blood, into a draft has always been like the most emotionally, creatively, mentally taxing part of the process. Revisions is hard, don't get me wrong. Like revisions is also very, very challenging a lot of the time, but at least you're working with something. So I'm trying to give myself a little bit of grace with this. Like, yes, we are speedrunning. With the breaks, it's not even really speedrunning. It's actually a bit slower than I'd like to be going, but yes, we are chunking this drafting process. No, it's not going to be perfect. I have seen what can come out of this book writing process before. Like I've written 3 books. I know how long I have to really like shape this into something good, and I know I can do it because I've done it before. So that's kind of my like first draft pep talk right now, is just it's so unbearably ugly I can't even stand to look at it sometimes, but this is just the early fetus baby stages and it's going to get better. I can do it. Okay, so with that, I am going to head on over to one of the cafes that I've only been to once, but I really liked it. I have no idea if my laptop's charged. I guess we'll find out. I do think they have outlets there, so fingers crossed I'm able to score one. One of the benefits of a small town is that the cafes are like never truly busy, not like the places that I would go to in Madison or back home. Yeah, we're gonna get some words in, and I'm going to take this bad boy with me so I can fill it in as I go. I'll update you guys when I get, I don't know, when I get home. Bye. Almost noon, so I'm gonna head back and eat a little bit of lunch because I just had like a bagel and some cream cheese and a coffee, which, as you guys know, I don't really make a habit of drinking coffee, but once in a while I just feel like I need it and I give in. And that session was way better. I got 2,500 words in. I hit the 5,000 word for the weekend in total mark. I'm at 70,000 words for this book officially. The flow that was working for me was just kind of going back and forth. Like I would have maybe 15 to 20 minutes of writing in draft 0.75, adding to the word count. I would start to feel the strain of hating the book and hating the words that were coming out, and I would switch gears to adding to draft 1, where I am rewriting the first chapter in third person with some of the edits that I'm making. I also made some notes on the first act. I kind of like
kind of re-outlined it. I really wrote and sketched out my A plot, B plot, and C plot because there are so many moving threads in this book, because it is planned as a duology, because there is this grander world and these politics and so many characters and moving parts. This is now a multi-POV book as well, which I need to figure out how to add those Dante POVs because I frankly have no idea where they're going to go outside of where I've already put them. Because it is a more complex story, I've realized that the approach that I took for MOTHSBLOOD, which is way more intimate, it's like this very personal individual growth and journey story for Lark, the main character, that is set in the fabric of a larger world. This is a story about the larger world, and it is still very character focused and intimate, but I think I need to pull back from that lens a little bit, and the multi-POV in the third person is going to help with that. I do think I need to like take a step out of the main character's head. Also because she's like really hard to write sometimes. She's so unpredictable that I have a really hard time getting into her head, and a lot of her actions, especially in this like messy draft 0.75, are reading as melodramatic. I'm like, this is a big reaction and it makes sense for you, or at least I can justify it for you, but it feels weird to read and write sometimes. So I think like a little bit more psychic distance from Alessia is going to be helpful for the book as a whole, and getting that feeling of the main driving point of this, the main driving force of this story is this very character focused revenge plot, and it's about this one woman's journey, but it is also about these other things, not quite in equal measure, but definitely much more so than MOTHSBLOOD, which was very intently focused on that individual journey. Another distinction I want to make, and that I've been thinking about, is that MOTHSBLOOD is definitely more in that literary leaning fantasy area, which is like, I don't want to say like certainly it's literary leaning fantasy, it's definitely still a genre book, but it has more of that character focused lens, and Crips leans more toward epic fantasy. Both of them are still like the type of fantasy I like to write, which is nebulous and I don't really know how to describe it. Kind of a blend of like spec fic, literary fiction, epic, you know, all these things, but they are very different flavors of fantasy, even though they do touch on some kind of similar themes. I think it's cool that like soon-ish I'll have a body of work, or like more recent work, to compare myself to and my growth to, and to kind of gauge that growth. I think a lot about the author career I'm striving for, and I think really the main thing that I want to accomplish is have a type of book where even if it's something totally different from anything I've ever written, I still want it to feel like a Lynn D. Jung book. And I think that MOTHSBLOOD and Crips are very closely aligned in terms of their tone, in terms of some of the themes they tackle. Obviously they're both like spec fic with a literary leaning writing style. I'm very flowery, I'm sorry to all of my purple prose haters, but I love purple prose. I do try to be efficient with my words, but I love a metaphor that sings. But there are a lot of differences that are appearing between them, especially as I'm continuing to draft and develop this book. And developing the story, developing the characters, the world, that has been an ongoing process. I don't think there was ever a point during the planning stage where I felt like I had everything down. That just hasn't happened. I've been adding and changing stuff continuously throughout this. I literally changed some world building stuff the other day that was pretty major and is having a pretty big influence on the plot. I did have a lot of concerns when I started out writing it that it would be or feel way too similar to MOTHSBLOOD, but I think I don't have to worry about that anymore. They do feel like very different projects. So that's kind of where my head's at. I'm gonna head back home. The context switching is always really difficult for me, but I am going to make an effort to, the minute I get home, I'm going to sit down, button seat, get to work writing. Trying to hit at least like 2,000, 3,000 more words today is my goal. I think I can do it, but the other thing is I do have to do some prep for work tomorrow. It is insane to me that we're halfway through November. We're coming up on Thanksgiving. Let's head home and keep writing. Bye. Are you coming to keep me company? Huh? Hi. Such a bad angle. Come here, look up. This is actually very poorly thought out, but Taylor and I are matching in our coloring boxes. That's so cute to me. Okay, thank you. Thank you for obliging. Okay,
Hi, it's currently 3:40 p.m. I'm taking a break. I was just on call with Taylor and Cody. I saw they were online. I jumped on to the call on a whim, and it was really helpful. We did like a 50-minute sprint together and then part of a 50-minute sprint before I signed off because I gotta go. So I just wanted to give you guys an afternoon update. It's going a lot better. I'm gonna be so upfront. We are 9,000 words down, about 800 words left until I hit the weekend goal of 10,000 words. So I've written 9,100 words so far. Most of that today, which is absolutely insane. If my math is right, that's what, 7,000-ish words today? And I'm definitely feeling it, but I think I am getting a little bit better at this giving myself permission to be bad thing, but I want to talk a little bit about the wisdom of that because it's something I've been percolating on as I do this challenge. This is the most quantity over quality challenge I think I've ever done, barring like, I don't know, the occasional NaNoWriMo of years past. Just pushing out 10,000 words in the span of 2 days every other weekend. That's a big lift, and that requires me to turn off a lot of parts of my brain that have kind of become accustomed to having a say in this part of the process. But here is why I'm doing it, and here is why I'm allowing myself to do it this way. I don't think this would work for everyone. I honestly can't even say if it's working for me. But historically, I've always been someone who has taken such a long time to produce a finished first draft. The flip side of that is that my finished first drafts are usually good, not great, because they always end up requiring a lot of revision anyway. But I always found it very frustrating, especially with my previous books that took even longer than MOTHSBLOOD. But even MOTHSBLOOD took like 4 years to get a finished draft out. I always find it incredibly frustrating to be like, I spent years on this. And I'm ripping it apart and starting from scratch. So I feel like right now I'm trying to see if I'm willing to take a dip in quality on this first draft because I know I'm going to revise it to smithereens anyway. That's kind of the thinking behind this. I do worry sometimes that like not having at least a somewhat strong base means that the final product is going to be not as good. What is helping me as well in this situation is that I've always had a really clear vision for crypts. Not always, that's an exaggeration, but for a pretty long amount of time I've had a clear vision for crypts, and it's really just filling in the details, which has mostly been happening in the drafting process, that has been giving me some trouble. I know how this book ends. I know how the series ends at this point. I know the themes I'm going for. They're very clear to me. I know how I'm going to approach them. The characters are now very clear to me as well. I always knew this was going to be sort of like a ponderous, dark, gory, gothic fantasy with a touch of romance, and that is what I'm producing. It's not the best version of it ever, but that is what I'm putting on the page. I've gotten a couple of comments ever since I started posting these videos about like, why would you do this to yourself? And I think that's really just sums it up, is the thing that I was doing before wasn't working for me in terms of just like satisfying the requirements of a long-term author career where I'm producing work that is up to my standards fairly consistently. So I'm trying something new, and I don't think it's ever too late to try something new. I don't think that this is going to be my habit with drafting moving forward, but I need to get a first draft out relatively quickly so I can actually work with it and make it a book, and it's happening. I am 74,000, almost 75,000 words into this draft. That is basically the length of a novel. It is not finished yet, just to be clear, but we are getting closer and closer to that point, and I'm honestly really excited because I think this is going to be a blast to revise. I wanted to show you guys actually a couple of the notes that I was taking, plotting out my A, B, and C plots. The main story is, of course, Alessia is seeking revenge against this household. She's on a quest for revenge. That's the A plot, and everything that unfolds as a direct result of that action, that choice that she's making, her motivation, her goal, or like her ongoing quest for revenge as obstacles keep getting in her way. The B plot is the romance, and then the C plot has to do with some of the side characters. I was feeling a lot of dissonance between the three. I felt like I could weave together the plots more efficiently in certain scenes, like there could be scenes that were picking up threads from multiple plot lines. So I kind of like started to re-outline the chapters. Nothing too crazy. I feel like the basic structure of them is going to remain the same, but it's where certain beats occur and what scenes they occur in. That gives those scenes more weight, it gives them more to do, more interest, more texture, and it also is going to help cut down on this issue I'm seeing where I have a bunch of like kind of long-winded transitional scenes right now. They're sort of placeholders as characters move from one state to the next or one location to the next. They're sort of like, you know, the in-between scenes for in between the bigger set pieces. They're just very like long and ponderous, and I always like my transition scenes to do something, like accomplish something, so you're not just reading about someone walking from point A to point B. But a lot of my subplots were happening in the transition scenes where they could and should be happening or have more of a presence in the main scenes. I re-outlined all of Act 1, not anything of Act 2, but we'll get there. That's something that I'm really excited to dive into as I continue to work on the actual draft 1 of this. Again, this is technically draft 0.75. I am going to go get stuff for dinner, start to make dinner, and then finish up this last 800 words. And then we'll do an outro, talk about how it went, talk about next steps, and that is pretty much it. So talk to you guys soon. Bye. Okay, so it is 6:15. It's literally pitch dark outside. I hate it so much. So I officially ahead of schedule have somehow, I don't even know how, I just locked in, I guess. I have written 10,000 words this weekend yet again. This is really just a moment where it's like, I cannot believe this guy is pulling it off. Oh, but I did it, and let's talk about it. Let's reflect a little bit on how this past 48 hours has gone for me. I feel exhausted. I also feel like I have kind of a million other things to do. My pot pie just finished, which perfect timing. I was literally like setting the timer on the oven for 5 minutes, running upstairs, writing 100 words, running back down, checking the biscuits because the biscuits on top were not cooking because there was too much liquid, and it's fine now, so we're gonna eat that. But I guess this is now just a little bit of time to reflect. I feel like I did a lot of reflecting throughout this video, which is uncommon for me. I often get distracted and forget to like think about what I'm doing, especially during these high octane challenges. I don't know if it's just that I've done this to myself enough times that it's starting to feel manageable, but it is starting to feel manageable. I think I generate a lot of pent-up creative energy over the 2 weeks that I'm off for this challenge. Again, like the goal of this, and I have to tell myself this, which is why I'm repeating it again, it's really not to have a final finished draft that is ready to hit shelves. The goal of this is to just have a finished draft. That's it. Quality does not matter. Quantity doesn't really matter. I think I'm going to probably hit around 100K before this book is done, which is, geez, probably like just 2 more weekends or 3 more weekends of writing, and then this will be done. That's actually kind of insane to think about. And then from there, we're going to build upon it, fix it, rework it, kind of build upon what I have, rearrange the pieces, and rewrite as needed. But I just feel like in order to do that in a timely manner and not figure it out as I go, I really need to give myself something to work with, and I need to get to that point a little bit faster. Why are you not focusing? I really want to give myself something to work with in whatever form that may take. And I think as I'm transitioning into this headspace where I'm trying to think of writing as something I do professionally, I'm thinking of it as my second job, trying to think of it as more than a hobby. For me, writing has always been kind of an urge. Like I need to do it. I want to do it. But even in my most productive times, I wasn't writing every day, and I wouldn't write very quickly. And I just feel like with the pace that is required to stay relevant, I want to get this book done faster than I've gotten my other books done. And I think that being able to produce a solid quality piece of literature that adheres to your original vision in some sense, like that is a skill set I definitely need to build. I spend a lot of time tinkering, whether that's with details or the big picture. Like the outline for MOTHSBLOOD, I kept revisiting it and I kept poking at it and prodding it and changing it pretty much up until the very end. I'm always going to be that person creatively, but I just need to streamline that process. And I think the way to do that is to have this messy train wreck of a first draft so that there is something to pinch and prod. I know I'm being a little bit repetitive here, but it has kind of been a revelation for me. Like I really was someone who was adamant about editing as I go, making sure that the drafts I produce are polished. So I've always like produced very clean work, and I've been proud of that. And there's also this little voice in the back of my head, I've said this before, I'll say it again, that's like, I want an A. I want whoever reads this, whether that's a beta reader or my agent or my editor, I want them to give me a gold star, an A. And that's just not the reality of the business. Like, I've been through the rigmarole with editing with an editor once now, just one whole time, which I guess is not enough of a data point to draw off of, but I know enough to understand that it is a process. Nothing I submit is going to stay untouched. And honestly, there were times where it was a bit painful for me to edit MOTHSBLOOD in accordance with someone else's ideas. My editors are fantastic, but there was still a little bit of like pain associated with taking apart something I had spent so much time on and been so meticulous about and changing any part of that. And I feel like I was very blessed in that MOTHSBLOOD was very light editorially. There was nothing where I was rewriting entire sections of the book. I was doing some rewriting, but it wasn't the whole thing, so I consider that a win. I feel like I have to accept that that's not always going to be the situation with edits. It is a product, it does need to be worked on, improved on. I think just letting go of my own perfectionism and controlling tendencies with the manuscript is going to be healthier for me in the long run. Also, there are aspects of this book where a lot of it is so fully formed in my brain. I'm talking about Crips now. I'm staring at it directly, making eye contact. So many parts of it are so fully fleshed out in my brain. The characters are finally feeling real, like the world is feeling so lived in for me. But there are also aspects where I'm like, I have no idea what that is. I have no idea what's going on there. I don't know how to fix that, so I need someone else to help me out or give me some input or just like have a conversation with me so I can talk my way through the problem. So basically, in short, I'm really looking forward to edits. Of course, obviously, I'm not submitting this to my editor, no freaking way. I am going to revise the crap out of it first, fully by myself, send it to beta readers, get it revised, and then do that. But I feel like I'm in a really good place to at least submit something that is 50% dog water instead of 100% dog water, because I'm giving myself time to edit before it goes out. That's that. It was a good weekend. I am so hungry. And just a reminder that I do have that France writing retreat locked and loaded. So if you want to check that out, please check the link in the description box below. Again, I'm so excited. If even like a handful of y'all can come along on this trip, I feel like it'll be the best trip ever. If you like this video, you know what to do. If you want to see more videos about my writing journey, my publication journey, go ahead and subscribe. I post videos like every 2 weeks now with my schedule. And we are entering my debut year, so it's going to be an exciting year for vlogs and videos in 2026. Yeah, I've yapped enough. Let's move on with our lives. Thank you so much for watching and have a great day.